What's up, everybody? I am the Headless Giant, and we're doing a Sunday night freestyle. I wanted to get people interested in current events and what to do about them, and I really wanted to focus on Venezuela. Who would have guessed the Headless Giant would have wanted to talk about Headless Giant stuff like Venezuela? Anyways, let's take it bit by bit. So I got up here on the screen. I got Venezuela cuts ties with Israel over Gaza attacks. Now, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there is an international community that votes on stuff to do, right? And that international community that votes on stuff to do, they don't like it when you just murder people, a lot of people, right? And they haven't liked America for that reason for a long, long time. And we're going to get into some of those consequences for people's actions a little bit later. But right now, we have to remember that Israel wants to take the focus off of themselves. They want to take the focus off of themselves. So which way could you do that? Which way could you do that? Venezuela is being crushed for defiance of the ZOG, outlawed abortion and trans ideology, two big no-nos if you're talking about hardcore Judaism in the Talmudic sense, which is based off of the Torah, upholding the natural order where the West welcomed perversion. It allied with Iran, not allowed. Hezbollah, not allowed. Palestine, verboten. You're not even allowed to say it. Most of the time on YouTube, you get booted off if you ever say these things because it still saw the enemy clearly. It refused the debt system, refused the IMF, refused to whore itself to the global market. So you're telling me things would be worse if we did those things, if we hoard ourselves to the global market, or things would be better? I want you to put yourself into every value judgment. You have to do it. Maybe short-term pain is worth going through that and actually having a future. It preserved remnants of sovereignty, masculinity, and hierarchy, right? Hierarchy means the order derived from heaven, right? Anyways, it was National Socialist in everything but name, and for that, it had to burn. The people who did not like Venezuela didn't like them for their traditional elements and not for their socialist elements. In fact, you could probably say that the most socialist thing you could do is to have family values. The funny part of that is that what family are you talking about, right? The law of the post-1945 world holds that anything rooted, anything masculine, anything that resists the open-air slaughterhouse of liberal finance and Jewish command must be exterminated. The United States no longer fights for its own people, its borders, or its honor. It fights to preserve the illusion that nothing else is possible. This is why your imagination is so important. Only through your imagination can you solve the problems that we are being faced with right now, right? You've got to imagine the future. You've got to carry it out on your own. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Maduro's capture was a blood-soaked warning to all sovereign men that if you defy the wealth fiend, you will be shackled before Zion's altar as its tribute. You will be treated like Isaac, Abraham and Isaac. Interesting. So, breaking. Venezuela was Israel's target. Resurfaced clip from a 2009 documentary shows that the president of Israel saying Venezuela and Iran are the only two countries spreading anti-Semitism. Maybe anti-Semitism has more to do with your banking system.
And little by little, as long as oil money work money.
Oh, he hit that. He hit that point. Hold on, guys. So I said it has a lot more to do with your banking system. Just as soon as I open the video, what does he say? The oil money in banking. Maybe that's what we're looking at. It doesn't take too much to realize what's actually going on here, people.
I wanted to ask you, since we met last, about the issue of Venezuela, because I heard voices kind of saying it's not so bad, and Latin America is not so bad, but I'm not convinced. And the question
You have good reason not to be convinced. You have good reason. It is getting worse.
Right.
And little by little, as long as oil money works.
I'm told that by our experts, it's the only, except for Iran, it's the only government propagated anti-Semitism today around the world. It's already
Formally. Right.
This is
first within the country and then outside.
The only country that is spreading anti-Semitism formally. In other words, from the office of the president, they say, don't kill Palestinians. That's enough to make you an enemy of Israel. Let's continue.
So are you pressing in any way?
We've talked to Jesse Jackson, who has a relationship, but it's not for camera, but there are other plans.
It's not for camera, but there are other plans. It's not for camera. Let's rewind that real quick. Let's listen to that one more time.
Plans.
We'll talk about it in a minute.
It's not for camera, but there are other plans.
Ooh.
But it's not for camera, but there are other plans. But it's not for camera, but there are other plans.
It's not for camera, guys. Fellas, it's not for camera. There are other plans. Let's keep going. The most depressing thing about watching the Venezuela shit play out is that it wasn't the geopolitics, the theatrics, or the predict. Look, guys, all I did was look up Venezuela. All right. So, there's a lot of the people I follow in there. So just be aware. This is my feed that I'm sharing with you. Venezuela before the Bolivarian Revolution. Look at that. It's just paradise, right? You've got Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. You've completely seized the country for the pedophiles. Everything's okay. But after the Bolivarian Revolution, that's when things got bad. Because you see, a lot of what happened with the third world is they chose communism because they thought they could get a better offer than with the United States. We weren't really offering freedom. Silver exists in Venezuela. Oh, yeah. Pretty dull, right? Libtards who hate Putin when you take out one of his lackeys in Venezuela. Oh, Captive Dreamer, big time MAGA account, posting that real good content, really deep content, really makes sense, right? He's got a gif of the guy, beating the floor. What do you guys think? How is this criticism nowadays? How is this even a critique? Maybe it's not. Maybe that's exactly what it is a guy pounding his fists on the ground and crying, projecting that projection on others. Jackson Hinkle. Give me a break. If anybody, I would like to know what Jackson Hinkle thinks, but I'm not too sure that he's not just kind of a Russian plant. And what does Russia have to do with any of this? That's a good point. That is a good point. I'd like to get into it. And the plot thickens. Paul Singer is about to buy Citgo in 2026, Venezuelan oil. Yes, all the Citgo stations around the United States are owned by Venezuela. So if you go to a Citgo station, you were financing Venezuela. Here we go. More Trumpisms, right? Well, let's read the rest of this first. Purchase, and with his purchase for 5.9 billion, he is not obligated to pay the 20 billion Citgo owns to creditors, basically letting Citgo get a discount with the control over the oil supply now. So what a lot of people are missing from the Venezuela situation is that there were a lot of creditors who wanted this deposition of the propped up dictator, right? So the propped up dictator lost all of his backing, right? All of the layers of finance were evaporated from his regime, and he was given the option: either you surrender yourself to our forces as they invade your country, or we'll kill a lot more people. What would you do if you were a leader of that country? Would you give yourself up, or would you fight back? General Jack Keane had a massive Freudian slip on Fox News while discussing the Venezuela. The implications here are really great for the Israel.
Really great for the Venezuelan people.
Oh,
The implications here are really great for the Israel. The implications here are really great for the Israel.
That's all they think about.
Here are really great for the Israel. The
That's all they
implications
think
here
about.
are really great for the Israel.
That's all they think about. The implications here are really great. Now, John Bolton is going to get arrested, thrown in jail because he's a moron. That's who they want to run things. Here's the real issue. We're not facing a Venezuela crisis. We're facing a competency crisis, right? We're facing a competency crisis. The competency crisis is this very pure, simple thing. These people don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they don't give a shit, right? The entire Trump administration don't know what the fuck they're doing, and they don't really care. It was all run on vibes the whole time. It was all vibes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But I'll tell you what isn't vibes is the Rex 84. Let's get into it. Now, I'm not thinking about just our generation. I'm not just thinking about the immediate next generation. I'm thinking about several generations to come. And Rex 84 is one of those things that has implications for multiple generations. So let's talk about readiness exercise 1984 Bravo. I think this would be a good thing to read through tonight on the stream, because I think it has everything to do with Venezuela. And you can correct me down in the comments if you think I'm wrong. Readiness exercise 84 Bravo was classified U.S. government exercise from 1980 that planned for mass detentions of citizens deemed national security threats during a national emergency involving FEMA and the military bases. Later became the focus for conspiracy theories about FEMA camps and martial law, especially after its details were reevaluated by the journalist Alfonso Chardini in 1987. Purpose: to test plans for suspending the Constitution and detaining large numbers of people, up to 500,000 undocumented Central Americans or Venezuelans, and 4,000 U.S. citizens, if a national crisis like an invasion of Central America occurred. Like an invasion of Central America occurred. Explain this. You don't have to explain it. Look, there is no difference between the right and the left. A lot of people are coming to the reevaluation of politics as a completely intentionally broken system. It's not supposed to work. It's never been supposed to work. You were never supposed to get the reins of your own society, the thing that you're funneling all of your money into. At least half of your money. At least half of your money is going to something that is planning to destroy you, planning to destroy your rights. right? Key figures. The plan involved the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, and drew input from figures like Oliver North. What they're leaving out is the entire continuity of government apparatus. Oliver North was not the entire continuity of government apparatus, but the entire continuity of government apparatus is run out of FEMA. FEMA is in charge of continuity of government. First, disclosure. First uncovered by the Christic Institute and detailed in the Miami Herald by Alfonso Sardi in 1987, linking it to the broader continuity of government plans. That's the important part. What is the Christic Institute? Was a public interest law firm founded in 1980 by Daniel Sheehan and his wife, Sarah Nelson, and their partner, William J. Davis, a Jesuit priest. Something to keep under your hat. Jesuit priest is the one exposing this stuff. Let's keep reading. Let's see here. After the successful conclusion of their work on the Silkwood case, this has to do with the government cover-up of radioactive materials, based on the ecumenical teachings of Pierre Teilhard of Chardin and on the lessons they learned from their experience in the Silkwood fight, the Christic Institute combined investigation, litigation, education, and organization into a unique model for social reform in the United States. In other words, this is the model for the non-governmental organization, NGO. This is what they all claim to do. In 1992, the firm lost its nonprofit status after a federal case dismissed by the court in 1988 and being penalized for filing a frivolous lawsuit. Oh, so now what they did is they took the Christic Institute model, they turned it inside out and used it against you, right? That's what an NGO is. The IRS said that the Christic Institute had acted for political reasons. When doesn't the federal government act for political reasons? The case was related to journalists injured in relation to the Iran-Contra affair. So the government hurt people. Christic Institute reported on it, and they were penalized for being political. The group was succeeded by the new firm, the Romero Institute. Interesting. The Romero Institute is a nonprofit NGO, law and public policy center in Santa Cruz, California. The institution was formed by activists of the Christic Institute and is named after Archbishop San Salvador Oscar Arnulfo Romero. The institute has three main projects: the Lakota People's Law Project, based in the Dakotas, and the New Paradigm Institute, Green Power, both based in California. So this institute was turned into a government policy arm for other purposes. Is that surprising? I don't think so. It's not surprising. What do you guys think? So we're talking about the Christic Institute, 1984. We're talking about Rex 84. We're talking about Ollie North. We're talking about all of that stuff. I think it's so vital to understand what's going to be coming out of Venezuela pretty soon, which is going to be thousands and thousands of migrants. They're going to have to go somewhere because the entire system is going to collapse. You can't introduce free market economies into socialist systems without major pushback by the people who already own these systems. That's going to cause a lot more migrants. It's an A plus B equals C situation. that everybody's going to be surprised by. Big surprise, everybody. You can't just invade a country and replace its systems with your own systems. Who knew? Well, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, it would be Christmas every day. But we're here, and we're here for another 10 minutes. 10 minutes or so. I think a 30-minute show is really what people are looking for. It's nice and, I had a lot of energy. I saw this trending, and I didn't see a lot of people covering it from this angle. I did see a lot of libertarians try to cover it from this angle. Some of them successfully, some of them unsuccessfully. But what they're not looking at is how well this fits in with a broader agenda. What they want to talk about is, oh, well, it may look like everything's okay, but you remember Iraq. It's not the same as Iraq. It's much worse. We're on the same continental shelf. They could come up here a lot easier. Where do you think they would go in Iraq if America was in Europe? They go, come on. Yeah. I would do like 2-hour shows, but I can't do that by myself. That's why I was asking for more people in here. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram or Twitter, please do. I'll put out a random show like this, and I want to get your input too. I think a lot of people know that something really bad just happened, but they're not exactly sure how to contextualize it. I think putting it in terms of Rex 84 is important, because what they found is that Rex 84 scared the patriot community. It scared the people who are most involved in the Trump movement today. That's what you have to get through. It takes a Republican to pass gun control. It takes a Republican to pass gun control. It takes a Democrat to pass these bills that allow people to dump whatever they want to into our streams and rivers. It takes a Republican to pass gun control. It takes a Democrat to destroy the environment. That's the way it's always been. You're not paying attention to those people. What Donald Trump is doing now is going to mess with immigration for generations. It's going to cause people to be streaming across from South America into the United States for generations. And very few people are even discussing that right now. And Alex Jones, of all people, is backing this action. He's 100% on board with the Venezuelan war, and there is no reason for any of us to ever let him forget that. He's not a principled person in the position he is today. He's the person that unprincipled people wanted to put into that position so that nobody principled could say the right things to the right people. Right? That's who Alex Jones is. He was the place sitter for now in his 50s to completely betray the people who have spent their blood, sweat, and tears supporting him most of their lives. That's the guy. I don't want cartel wars either. They keep talking about how this has to do with drugs. Did they prove any of their claims when it came to blowing these people up in the Gulf of Mexico? No, they don't have to. They have bombs. And so they said, you know what? We're just going to blow them up. And if anybody has any questions, let them swim to the bottom and find evidence. We could say whatever we want to. And this works perfectly for the courts of the United States. They can grandstand and they can pretend like they have all of the moral high ground. They don't. They don't. I really wanted to get into some more of these Venezuelan videos. Right? So New York has Venezuelan President Maduro being swept through the streets. I'll look this up again. right? So they're just bringing these guys through the streets. And here, I'll bring you along for the ride. Here we go. Here we go. All right. Did you see that? Let's go back a little bit. So they've got the door sitting wide open, right? Each and every one of the people inside of this van are now war criminals. This is a total violation of the Geneva Convention. Do you think Donald Trump is going to stick up for these soldiers when they're brought up on war crimes? Do you think Bibi wants to back these Americans when they're brought up on war crimes, diverting attention from his war crimes? That's a resounding no from the audience. I heard it. I don't know what you were listening to, but I heard it. They are not going to back these soldiers up for committing acts of war on the American soil. And in fact, they will take these guys. You will have Republicans literally ripping these soldiers out of these vans and throwing them in liberal court systems to get the liberals to go after these guys and inflame the rest of the right wing in America. How dare you? They were acting on orders by their commander-in-chief. You don't think they will? Look at what happened on January 6th. You think these people have your best interest at all in mind? Remember, these war criminals, when they're brought up on charges, which they will be, because absolutely no one is backing them up. They were ordered to do this, and they will be facing major war crimes charges. Nobody in the administration will back them at all. At all. They will be thrown to the wolves, and that's their purpose. Can you imagine being this stupid? Can you imagine being this stupid? Woo! Can you imagine being this fucking retarded? All right. Can you imagine? I don't think so. So, first and foremost, nobody has your back. Nobody. You think you're not going to catch smoke for that? You're fucking wrong. You're going down for that. And nobody gives a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Let them take you to the gallows. Who gives a shit? You're stupid. You don't have my back. What the fuck do I care about you? And you did it based off of the orders you were given. Let's apply this universally. Let's apply it universally. They don't give a fuck about you. They never fucking have, and they never will. You just exist to serve them. What do you think of that? Well, Nigerian oil. Here's the thing about Nigeria. If we had to, we would have started the crusades down to Nigeria immediately. I just don't think it had the support. Now that we have complete control of Nigerian oil, it doesn't matter about the Straits of Hormuz. In fact, let's get into the Straits of Hormuz real quick. Let's get into it. Oh, you can't even look it up. Straits of Hormuz. Again, this is just from my Twitter search. Tanker. Okay, this is from June 22. Sorry. Look, the Straits of Hormuz are right here. This is the Persian Gulf. All of the oil from Iraq and Kuwait has to come down here, go around Qatar, go through there. This is the Straits of Hormuz. It wouldn't take much for this guy to stop this from happening. It would take barely anything at all to stop this and essentially turn everything like this into an overland empire to the rest of the Arabian Peninsula. If that's the case, this is from June 22, right? Back when they started the 12 Days War. This is where they want to stop. Now, this is why, right here, we got to suck that oil. This is not just for us. This is for the rest of the world. We have enough reserves for us. But what we'd like to do is use Venezuelan oil to make up for what's going to be missing from the Straits of Hormuz. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that a nice picture? I think that's a picture everybody can agree on. All of the ideology from beginning of the administration to now has been replaced by Judaism. By Judaism. And I don't want to call it anything other than that because that's what it is. It's Judaism. If you look at the self-referential nature of the Bible, it is a massive self-fulfilling prophecy. Straight up Hormuz right there. Now, I've misspelled straits like a total moron. This is why I need other people in this with me so I don't get laughed at. And we're going to find stuff recently. Oil tankers are now doing 180-degree turns when they get to the Strait of Hormuz. It's closed. It's closed, ladies and gentlemen. They're just gonna invade Iran. Everything you're seeing in Venezuela is ready for Iran. It has nothing to do with Venezuela. The only thing it has to do with is Israel's plans for Iran. Right? Yeah. So that's where we're at. I think Cuba is an interesting thing, but you also have to remember that communism is Judaism. Communism is just a different form, different sect of Judaism. It was started 100% in the Judeo-Christian style. Judeo-Christian style, guys. The Bolsheviks were Judeo-Christians. Right? Now, you don't like it. I get it. But it's time to be honest. Christianity is a proto-communism variant. And it was spread to us for the same reason this is being spread to us today, to make us more pliant, to make our needs come after the needs of a special group of people. And whether or not it was successful back then doesn't change the fact that we're in an environment today where it's very highly successful. The spread of information has made this a lot easier for the people who wrote the Bible. Collapse of countries via economies falls into the NWO plan. No. I would say yes, it does. This has to do with the Great Reset. Back about 2,000 years ago, 2,025 years ago, you had a guy who came around to destroy 90% of the classical world's documents about everything. Now, everybody thought he was the Prince of Peace, but really he brought war to all these continents, brother against brother. Actually, that's what he refers to in Luke. Is if you don't hate your father, if you don't hate your children, if you don't hate your wife, if you don't hate your sister, you can't be part of the kingdom of heaven. And oh yeah, love your enemy as yourself. Love your enemy, hate your family. Who would say that? Well, a Jewish person would say that to a Roman person that they viewed as a threat. Because after the Maccabean rebellion, when they killed 25,000 Greeks who were living in the Levant, they decided to start forming religions. Right. And actually, they got kicked out of a lot of places for it. In Alexandria, the Jews were kicked out in about 137 or so because they were starting a cult. Now, they were let back in later on, but again, that's been a problem that we had over and over again, is the follow through. Starting out, we're good, but the follow through, we're not really up to it. Christianity is a form of globalism. King Jesus over the entire world will rule, right? So this is the one world religion, right? One world religion, one world religion. That's how you know Jesus is true, is when he controls the entire planet. How do you know when communism is true? When you have a stateless, government-free, money-free, hierarchy-free society on the entire planet. That's how you know communism is real. Yeah. How do you know Christianity is real? Is when every knee shall bow. Every knee shall bow and every tongue confess. Huh. Now they're filling us all the way up with the truths. We don't know what to believe. Yeah. All I know is that there are flowing charts that actually make sense. So stuff is moving from this point to that point. That's what's real. Stuff came from over there and now ended up over there. That's what's real. And if we don't pay attention to that, what are we actually paying attention to? We have our spiritual life, but that has to be bolstered by looking around and seeing how it actually works. Catholicism was the first communist system, not an accident. The Sabbatean Frankists been behind communism since Constantinople took over Rome. It goes back before that. We can actually find it in Romans 15:27. Shall we do a little Bible reading? This is one of my favorite passages from the Bible. Romans 15 in general is probably my favorite chapter from the Bible. If you haven't read it, you should. It's very enlightening. It's very, very quick. You'll read it. All right, let's read it together, shall we? This is very important for biblical authority. Right here. They were pleased to do it, and indeed they owe it to them. For if the Gentiles have shared in the Jews' spiritual blessings, they owe it to the Jews to share with them their material blessings. All right, guys, let's read it one more time. They were pleased to do it. And indeed, they owe it to them. For if the Gentiles have shared in the Jews' spiritual blessings, they owe it to the Jews to share with them their material blessings. If you done got something out of Christianity, you got to put that money in the plate, y'all. That plate is looking a little dry. Fill the plate because we gave you the spiritual blessings. Now, who gave us our spiritual blessings? Who gave it to us? Let's go with John 4:22. John. For do what they do. Who gave us our spiritual blessings? Let's see. Let's find out. You Samaritans, goy dogs. Samaritans worship what you do not know. You are ignorant. You are stupid. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. So who do you owe money to? Who do you owe money to? Goyim? Who do you owe the money to? Goyim. It says it right there in the Bible. Just pick up the Bible and you find out who you owe money to. Who do you owe money to, Goyim? Let me hear it in the comments. Who do you owe money to, Goyim? Who do you owe money to? Come on, Goyim. Hit me up. Come on. Salvation is of the is of the what? Whew. It's always been like this, guys. This peaceful religion that you think of is kind of more like a hippie cult thing, right? It's kind of more like a hippie cult thing. And what are we doing? What are we doing? I have to look up this other one. You guys are going to love this one. This is another one from Romans chapter 15. Romans 1:5. 8. Here we go. Romans 15:8. Here we go. You're going to love this one. You're going to love this one, guys. For I tell you that Christ has become a what? A servant of the Jews. Now, in the old King James Version, it says servant of the circumcised. They kind of had to take it out a little bit because it was a bit too obvious. But let's go over this again. For I tell you that Christ has become a servant of the Jews on behalf of God's truth, so that the promises made to the patriarchs might be confirmed. Now, what are these promises made to the patriarchs? Let's find it in Zechariah. Zechariah promises. Whoops. Zechariah promises God's faithfulness to restore Jerusalem and his people, promising a return to Zion. Romans 15:8 says, actually, the Zionists are correct. Jesus came here to reestablish the land of Israel. Hey, and not only that, but Zechariah says that they're going to take over the world. It's Pinky in the Brain time. You're Pinky. They're the brain. Just keep loving that Jesus. Just keep loving your rabbi. That's all you got to do. Just keep loving that rabbi. Just love that rabbi. You know. What did they say to do to Amalek? Who is Amalek? Is Amalek you or them? It's you. You're Amalek. But I could go into Bible verses all night long. I could take you around the wheel and back again. It's gross. I thank you for joining me. And we'll do this some other time. Thank you so much.